Why honey, though? You said the bunny who ran out honey.
Yeah, because honey is candy. It's sweets.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And the kid chased him so much that he had to throw away all the suckers and everything to stop them from catching him. And they still caught him and pulled off the hood that he had on as a bunny.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Briar's vanilla. Yeah, that was many years ago, 30-some years ago. I met your mother at a disco in the Bronx on a hot summer day. It was 90 degrees, and I was on my way home, and I stopped by to have a nice Coke from the fountain with ice. It was so delicious. I left my business. I had a business not far from where I lived. I had an apartment. So while I was there, the owner of the place said, "What are you doing tonight?" It was a Saturday night. And I said, "Well, I'm going home. It's so hot, and get under the air conditioning." So he said, "Are you a bachelor?" And I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Why don't you come back about 10 o'clock? There's a lot of girls here. You know, you would have a lot of good fun or something." So I got up about 10:30, and I went there, and I was amazed how many people were there.
No, you can't hold it. I don't want it. We'll call you in the same
Put it in the bed.
I want to throw it.
That's the candle.
Tiff.
Get
back from me. Tiff. Happy birthday. Okay. Happy birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Trying to get happy birthday.
Okay, happy birthday.
Something's wrong. I'm looking at myself in here.
You're in bad shape.
Vivíamos en una parte del sur del Bronx que era muy pobrecita. Pero yo seguí mis estudios y gracias a Dios superé y fui a Bronx Community College y de ahí cogí una profesión que era técnica de laboratorio y después encontré a mi esposo en un sitio de un club, conocí a mi esposo. Después que fuimos a diferentes pases, después que nos conocimos muy bien, nos casamos, tuvimos 2 bellas hijas, una era Elizabeth Butler, fue la primera hija, la segunda hija fue Tiffany Butler. Y después yo seguí mi educación. Yo fui y fui al colegio otra vez cuando mis hijas fueron grandecitas. Fui a mi segunda educación, que fue de enfermera, y me gradué de ser enfermera en 1998.
Yeah.
Y esta es una placa conmemorando la fecha que yo y mi esposo nos casamos. Nos casamos en marzo 26 de 1983. Marzo 26 de 1983. To have and to hold for this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to share it, to death do us apart. Esta es la placa que yo hice como 5 años después que nos habíamos casado, conmemorando una fecha de nuestro aniversario de casados.
Yeah, when I went into the military, I was about 20 or so years old. I met this lieutenant colonel who came over to talk to me, and he asked that I come to his office. He had some vital information for me. So I came to his office, and when I was in his office, he says, do you know you're a Native American? So I said, no. But he says, yeah, I've been in the military 30 years. And he says, you got the cheeks, and you look like 100% Native American. But I said, I think I'm Afro-American and Native American. So he said, listen, we're going to talk. I've been here for 30 years. We're going to meet. We have lunch together, whatever the case is, and we got to go forward with this. You go back to your company, and I'll talk to you soon. I says, okay. And I gave the salute, and I went back to the company. Look at that stuff. Before she would jump right out of my lap. She won't even leave now.
What? Since I mentioned to get a dog, you done changed, all right? You said, oh, you said you can play both parts, a cat and a dog.
Oh, it is going.
Hey, we're
okay,
going.
Happy.
We're going. Hey!
Yuppie, we
birthday.
love you.
I mean, we love you. It's not
We
your
love
birthday.
you.
Is it birthday?
It's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We love
Get
you.
better soon.
Like I said in the last message, I miss your home fries.
The home fries. Oh, how about the time that you ran into me with the go-kart? Oh, no, I ran into you with the go-kart.
I miss our rides from New York to your house, and then you would tell me, oh, Smokey the Bear lives right there.
They
right here. Yep.
They always
I
had the
love
best
you.
house.
We
I
love
love you. We love you a lot. Happy birthday, Yuppie.
Happy birthday.
All right, let me get the other people.
Oh,
No, he don't know them.
He knows him. George. Wish Yuppie a happy birthday. This is George.
Hey, Yuppie, happy birthday. Get better soon, man. We need to see you again.
I love you.
When I had the car dealership, I went to this bank, I think a Citibank or whatever, and I was in the dealership for about 2 or 3 years, and I decided that I wanted to do some things at the lot. So I had a few dollars, but I needed like a cover of more money. So I went to the Citibank of not far from my business, and I told the guy I wanted to open up an account under the business name of $10,000 or whatever the case was. And the man said to me, young man, we don't deal with you. We don't deal with your people. If we could recognize, if we could believe in that every day is a holiday, that we could believe in that life is short and beautiful, then life is beautiful.
When do you remember a moment when you fell in love with your husband? Or when you fell in love?
Oh, I remember when I saw his kindness. When my mother was having cancer, she had lung cancer, and we had gotten married. We were gonna go to a honeymoon, and before that, every single week he would go get her insured for Montefiore Hospital, the insured supplement that she drank because she couldn't eat. And not only that made me feel like this man is very kind. He used to go get cases for her. All right, here we go. I forgot the turmeric. I gotta put the turmeric in there.
She put turmeric in it.
That's the turmeric is gonna make a yellow rice. Remember, this up.
Smells so good.
It's gonna be like, put the turmeric in here. Turmeric first. The turmeric's gonna be, I'm sorry, let's see what this is.
What's the Christmas clock?
Teaspoon. I'm gonna put a teaspoon of turmeric. Oh. Yeah, I gotta open it up because I want to measure it for you. Teaspoon of turmeric. Give it color. That's done. It's done. Alright, we're gonna put some olives in there. I usually like to cut my olives a little bit before I put them in. So I'm just gonna cut my olives.
Hello, Nikki.
It's so funny, I hug him. He gets to say goodbye for the Easter day today. He wants you to have a nice springtime this time. It's beginning to feel a lot like Easter all around that time. And the grass is getting green, and the trees are growing leaves, and the butterflies are flying, and the birds are singing too. Oh, it's beginning to feel a lot like springtime. But it's Easter day today. We're beginning to have a good time. We're beginning to see the Easter bunny have a great time.
Take him away, please.
I have a present for you.
Take him away, please.
I have a present
Stop, little girl. Hey.
Okay, no, Christopher, be nice. Be nice to Easter
Hey,
Bunny.
George, these little kids are
Yeah, they're assaulting the Easter Bunny here. He's asking for help.
Happy Easter, Mr. Bunny. He's a dad.
That's a fight with him to keep him off.
That's why they were laughing in there.
No, he was dancing with Jackie's boyfriend, and they were getting down like this.
Take away.
My
And they're shaking each other's ass like this. That's why they're laughing.
Hey, little girl. You gonna take my costume away? Zorica?
No, leave the Easter Bunny alone. Leave that Easter Bunny. No, leave him alone. Easter Bunny. Easter Bunny's running for his life. Easter Bunny's running for his life. They're trying to tear him apart. Oh no.
No more.
Kyle's outside. Help him out. Crystal, let him go, Crystal.
Oh my God. Never do it funny again.
No!
Come on, little girl.
No, leave him alone.
That's my father.
Yeah, but still, you're gonna break the suit.
Your father mud on the house.
No.
Easter Bunny, say goodbye to everybody. Bye, Easter Bunny.
The day I got the test, the day I got the results for my test for Huntington's disease, I was quite certain that I was going all the way to Columbia University in Washington Heights to get good news. I was sure that the test was going to show that I didn't have Huntington's, that I had nothing in common with my father other than his blue eyes and his propensity for drug and alcohol dependency. Adults with Huntington's disease have a 50-50 chance of passing the disease to their children. That's a 1 in 2 chance, the flip of a coin. He had died at 48 before showing any signs of the disease, but it was impossible to know for sure because there were no genetic tests for HD at the time. Later, his younger brother and 2 younger sisters would get it. In all, 4 of the 5 Miller siblings would develop Huntington's disease. The day before I had to get my results, I asked my friend Alice to go with me. She was an old friend who I'd dated and played in bands with for years. We were still close, so I felt comfortable asking her to go with me. She agreed, and when we were driving up to the hospital, I told her of my confidence in the results, and that it would probably be a quick trip. I told her I'd take her to lunch after for her trouble. We were called into a small office right off of the waiting room. Inside was a large round table with 3 women sitting behind it. There was a doctor, a genetic counselor, and an administrator. I had met with them all separately in the weeks leading up to this meeting, so I knew who they were. As I introduced them to my friend Alice, I examined their faces trying to get some sense of what was about to happen, which seems odd now because I was only seconds away from finding out. When we'd all sat down, there was a split second of silence and stillness. Suddenly, the woman sitting between the doctor and the administrator picked up a piece of paper that was sitting in front of her and passed it to me. I could hear her say something like, "I'm afraid the test shows that you are gene positive for Huntington's disease." I could hear her say something like, "I'm afraid the test shows that you are gene positive for Huntington's disease." As I heard this, I fumbled the paper in my hand. I wasn't sure if I'd heard her right. My eyes began to scan the sheet, but I was having trouble finding my name. There was words and numbers on there that I couldn't understand. I must have looked confused because then she said, "This means that you're definitely going to develop Huntington's disease. Do you understand?" Okay, I guess I didn't understand because I thought I wasn't going to test positive. Didn't my mother say that my father didn't have it? What the fuck was she basing that on? Was she just lying to me? Was she lying to herself? The doctor on the right was talking about how they would keep a close eye on me and my progression, and that I wouldn't have to be alone. This sounded nice to me, but I couldn't stop thinking about my progression. Progression? Was there going to be progress? I think they meant regression. They were going to watch me regress, revert, devolve. I was going to die from this disease. I think that's what they were trying to say. At some point, I could hear someone softly sobbing. Was it me? Was I crying? I rubbed my face with my hands, but felt no tears. I could hear it through my right ear. It was my friend Alice. She was crying. And for a second, I stopped feeling sorry for myself long enough to feel sorry for her. I didn't expect this, and I know that she didn't. I heard someone say, "So you haven't said anything yet. How do you feel?" "Unlucky," I said. "I guess I'm just unlucky."
In Greek mythology, Nike is the goddess of speed, strength, and victory. She is also known as winged goddess. Would it be easier for you if I wasn't so fast? Would it be simpler if I stopped winning? Would you be more comfortable if I was less proud? Ancient Greeks worshipped Nike because they believed she could make them immortal and was able to grant to humans the strength and the speed needed to be victorious in any task they undertook. Despite their faith in the goddess Nike's abilities to grant strength and lead paths to victory, these ideas did not extend to mortal woman. Prior to 1987, there were no Nike advertisements directed towards women because it was believed that it would compromise Nike's authentic and serious sports image. The prevailing mindset and myth were that women were not physiologically able to run 26.2 miles. They said women couldn't do something that arduous, that it meant turn a woman's features into that of a man. A doctor had told me straight away that my uterus would fall out. A traveler named Puisanas describes a contest called the Hoeckele. Named after the matron goddess Hera and dating to ancient times, the Hoeckele games consisted of foot races for women. They run in the following way. Their hair hangs down. A tunic reaches to a little above the knee and they bare the right shoulder and breast. Not so much as a slip as a full-on breast's bid for freedom, wearing a loosely draped black dress with a low neckline held up only by two quintessentially Versace chunky chains and the grace of fashion's gods. It turned out that well. The gods wanted a good show. And classicists can hardly fail to be reminded of one of the most frequently cited testimonia of women's presence in the audience in ancient Athens, the report that Orestes' ghastly furies frightened women into miscarriages. They take the inert clay of human flesh and model it into the decorative shapes of their own devising. Every gesture of his models is planned, every line controlled and coordinated to the whole of the picture. Some gestures look natural and careless. The others, like Voltaire's God, were invented by the artist because they did not exist. Excess fat can be pushed up over the waistband, and if it is well designed, the fat comes out in a sexier and more appropriate place, like your breasts, butt, and legs.
The leg functions metonymically, meaning that the representation of a single body part is intended to stand in for the essence of the whole individual. Giacometti himself spoke of the influence of science on his worldview, which led him to create works such as this one.
Science has given us learning tools that have completely revolutionized our vision of reality. Photography, X-rays, and microscopes have allowed us to penetrate the secrets of matter, magnifying and deforming them.
The photograph of his wife's hand was the first photograph of a human body part using X-rays. When she saw the picture, she said, "I have seen my death." Even until Victorian times, women were thought to hold a finite amount of vital energy. Activities including sports or higher education theoretically drained this energy from reproductive capabilities. Her coach insisted a marathon was too far to run for a fragile woman. Nike was depicted with famous athletes symbolizing their victories. In public places as well as temples, she was depicted to commemorate victories in war and competitions. But later, Nike advertised in a different way, this time creating ads that target women's emotions and giving them a feeling of sense of community. They created advertising campaigns that revolved around three big ideas: empowerment, entitlement, and product emphasis. We are told that these women are athletes, that they are in peak condition, that they are aggressively fit. But this is not the Olympics or the Paralympics. There are no medals to be won. This is a lingerie show.
We're not those kind of angels.
Although still number one, Victoria's Secret's share of the growing $13 billion US lingerie market fell to 24% in 2018. In 2019, a rare pair of Nike's first shoes, the Moon shoe, sold at Sotheby's for over $437,000. In 1971, Caroline Davidson was paid $35 to design the infamous Nike swoosh. When Nike appeared alone, she always had wings and sported a palm branch in her right hand. If she was seen with another god, Nike was always wingless. According to many accounts, Nike is portrayed without wings in Athens so that she could never fly away from their city. The logo was meant to evoke movement, like Nike's wings. In 1872, California Governor Leland Stanford hired photographer Edward Muybridge to settle a gentleman's bet about motion. When a horse gallops, is there a point where all of its hooves are off the ground at the same time? Muybridge took this challenge and began to develop a series of technological, photographic innovations, and between 1883 and 1886, Muybridge yielded more than 100,000 images depicting the motion of human and animals. Unlike the motion studies of Edward Muybridge, who depicted movement as a series of discrete moments on a separate sequential negatives, Murray's analysis of motion are characterized by multiple exposures on a single photographic plate. Marcel Duchamp attributes influence on Murray on his work Nude Descending a Staircase. Of this, he says, "My aim was a static representation of movement, a static composition of indications of various positions taken by a form in movement." A nude never descends the stairs. A nude reclines. The indefinable mass which loosens the edge of her body can also be described as a certain kind of dissolving into non-entity. To top off these concerns, female anatomy and reproduction baffled scientists of the day. A woman's ovaries and uterus were believed to control her mental and physical health. Plato's dialogue Timaeus compares a woman's uterus to a living creature that wanders throughout a woman's body, blocking passages, obstructing breathing, and causing disease. The standard cure for this hysterical suffocation was scent therapy, in which good smells were placed under a woman's genitals and bad odors at the nose. On the basis of no scientific evidence whatsoever, doctors of physiology related biology to behavior, figuring that women who displayed symptoms of aggression, ambition, and competitiveness were incompletely developed and prone to disease. A woman who engaged in sport, therefore, could be sterile or transmit her unfavorable characteristics to her children. And the female competitors appeared unsurprisingly sweaty and out of breath. The distance was perceived as too much for the women. Few records exist of female sportspersons of those times. Unrecognized and unappreciated during their time, figures like Sineska and the female athletes of the Heraean Games were perhaps the pioneers who made the case for women's sports. On the world stage, women have gone from being banned from competition to performing feats that appear superhuman. But with these triumphs came pushback. Women who performed too well were viewed with suspicion and often forced to submit to gender tests. They had no more than 2 syllables and at least one exotic letter or sound in them with a Z, X, or K. The next morning he awoke with the answer, Nike, but it was only 4 a.m. He waited 3 hours before calling. "I've got it," he said when he called. "What?" they replied. "Nike." "What?" They paused. "What's a Nike?"
The sense of hearing is accomplished by a process known as auditory transduction. The ear converts sound waves in the air into electrical impulses, which can be interpreted by the brain.
ساله
پدر کجاست؟
پدر الان بذار رو کاکتوس من کاکتوس رو ببینم.
The tympanic membrane is cone-shaped and articulates with a chain of 3 bones called the auditory ossicles. They consist of the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The movements of the tympanic membrane vibrate the ossicles, passing on the information of frequency and amplitude.
ساله دیگه هیچ آبی بهش ندینا.
نه آب که ندادم ولی اون یکی کامل زرد شده پایینش هم داره سیاه میشه خاکش رو باید عوض کنی؟
Due to the flexibility of a membrane called the round window, the stapes movement can displace the perilymph, allowing vibrations to enter the labyrinth.
میتونم کاکتوس من گفتم
نه کجا؟
تحقیقات این بود که سر میلیون تجویش بگیری کنفروش دستورش رو من یه مدام کاکتوس تو کارنات لب جون لب چیز که بفروشه یکیش افتاد همین شکست بعد که انداخت خواست من داره کنم من ازش نمیدش کنم دیگه اومدیم دو تکی ما هم سوارش کردیم و سال با لیدر سرعت ما یک کمی هم نوم شرم رفتیم دور برش رو وسیلتش کردیم سال بیدیر نیستم نریسید یه جوانم انتهای زده دیگه نیدرهاشون زنیم و برش فرمن در بودم یه نیدرم رو برامون درارم
بزرگ بود یا کوچیک بود؟
نه کوچیک بود ساله برام دار بزرگ میشه
عمل کردی کاکتوسو نمیدونستم اینطوری میشه یعنی از وسط شکسته بود بعد به هم لختی
ساله یه دقیقه گوشی بیام من این باید میشه
The corridor leading to the round window is found within the spiral portion of the bony labyrinth, known as the cochlea. Vibrations produced by the stapes are drawn into the spiral system and return to meet the round window. The portion of the spiral passage in which vibrations ascend to the apex of the cochlea is called the scala vestibuli. The descending portion of the passage is called the scala tympani. A third structure, called the cochlear duct, is situated between the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani.
آره یکم دور کمتر بگیر خیلی ضد موش دکتر یه عکس از این بگیر برام بفرست
حتما ساله من درستش من بودم که تو کاکتوس ها خوب بده یا اون کاکتوس بردار تو صفحه انداختی برداری یا اینجا کسی بردش میکنی یا ساله من دوستم نکردم خدا
قربونش آدم خدا
من فردا آمد بشم
دوره دکتر جو فردا عمل داره
Our once solid, unpredictable, sensing, spectacularly messy and animal bodies submit, imperfectly but also intensively, to the abstracting conditions of medicine. It is already underway the moment the body has had enough of organs and wants to slew them off, or loses them. Is it really so sad and dangerous to be fed up with seeing with your eyes, breathing with your lungs, swallowing with your mouth, talking with your tongue, thinking with your brain, having an anus and larynx, head and legs? The human body is scandalously inefficient. Instead of a mouth and an anus to get out of order, why not pave one all-purpose hole to eat and eliminate? We could seal up nose and mouth, fill in the stomach, make an air hole direct into the lungs where it should have been in the first place. We could inject the bleach to disinfect the body from the inside. Why not walk on your head, sing with your sinuses, see through your skin, breathe with your belly? The simple thing, the entity, the full body, the stationary voyage, anorexia, cutaneous vision, sun-gazing, navel-gazing, yoga, love, experimentation. Where gurus say, stop, find yourself again, we should say instead, let's go further still. We haven't found ourselves yet. We haven't sufficiently dismantled ourselves. Bodies are texts on which power regimes have written their prescriptions. That you will run out of yourself to make yourself is the yogic prelude to the entrepreneurial rules of existing. A person can be anything, she is told, if she puts her mind to it in the economic zone of unfettered personal possibilities. Millions of noses, eyes, lips, breasts, stomachs, thighs, buttocks, even vaginal labia are being remodeled, wrinkles are being smoothed from aging foreheads. Our body is becoming a patchwork of discentered mechanisms, open to be rearranged according to our will and desire. We move in and out of each other's holes or make new ones. Many of us have bodies that other people have sometimes lived or died in. Every person with a body is a secret historian, at work on the same volume. Skin as annals of sensation, genitals as jokes told by fools, teeth as the rise and fall of what bites. On the one hand, my body is the center of my world, and on the other, it is the object in the world of others. Having a body in the world is not to have a body in truth, it's to have a body in history.